bring those leads to something permanent. And by permanent, I mean your email list. So
yeah, your website.
Emails. Yeah, if you don't have a structured out email list and you're capturing emails, please do that. It has to be in the thousands because I mean, I've been working in podcasting specifically since like 2017. And then before that, I was in front of the camera. Yeah, it has to be thousands. One of the things that I've learned working in the industry, and not that I don't want to use the word sad. It's not sad. It just like, it makes me want to pull my hair out a little bit. Yeah. Because I feel every business and or personal brand should have a podcast is because yeah, so I have like a traumatizing TikTok story if you have time to get into it.
All right, you know,
if you want to buckle your seats.
Hello, I'm Dustin, PolyInnovator. Today I'm talking with Jennifer Blake, who is a podcast producer and expert host about podcasting and host of her own show. Thank you for coming on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight.
Yes, thank you for that wonderful intro. Thank you for having me.
I find that when I run out of breath for different intros, it's a good idea. Like, okay, cool. Like, there's a lot going on there. You hold a lot of different podcasting kind of titles, I would say, like producer and host, and probably, I presume, editor of your own show as well.
Yes, a little bit of everything. So, yeah.
Well, and that's how a lot of us creators start out. We end up having this kind of wear of many different hats kind of thing, like jack of all trades. And then you have to become a master of all of them because you want your show to get better and better. Is there any particular skill that you worked really hard at recently?
I wouldn't recently, but I want to say in the past 3 years, I've really honed down on, I use Premiere Pro for my editing software. And I've really honed down on knowing all the keyboard shortcuts to a T. And it has really paced up my editing pace and style. And it allows me to dabble into other creative things because now that I'm an expert on all the basics, I can, do the cool edit. I can do this because all of it is going to get done in a shorter time frame.
Do you like editing or do you not like editing?
I love editing, which is really rare for people. Like, I could be in Premiere Pro all day. I absolutely love it.
That's crazy to me because I can't stand editing. It's on the opposite end.
A lot of people can't. I love it.
I definitely think that podcasters more than other creators really like editing. Like the bloggers and YouTubers, some of them really like, if they're like a filmographer, they might enjoy editing their YouTube videos. But for the most part, I think that podcasters, like there's more people who like love getting their hands on the equalizer and just normalizing different stuff and pulling different gains here and there. And like, I don't know a whole lot about the audio editing, to be honest. I'm more of a video guy. But I think that there's just that kind of entrancing kind of quality to audio.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that podcasters are more in-depth and behind the scenes because I guess we're used to that because we probably all came from like TV, radio, and that sort of things behind the scenes. We were never like in front of the camera, so I guess it has to do with behind the scenes situation.
How is your skill becoming like getting comfortable in front of the camera going?
It's going, and so
it's a tough question. I was like,
it's really going. I've reframed my mindset around it because just before we get into it, I used to work in front end media. I used to struggle so hard speaking in front of the camera until one day it hit me. And I realized, why don't I just pretend I'm someone in the audience, like listening in? Like, what would I want to hear? And that made me like totally relax and kind of learn how to speak. And another thing specifically with podcasting, and I guess you could reflect it onto YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Podcasting should sound like you're on a FaceTime call with a friend. It shouldn't sound like this high structured thing where, you see people speaking on the news and stuff. It's very like read the script and, read the teleprompter and whatever. Yeah. Where once again, podcasting or like YouTube or any other content pretty much should just sound like you're just chiming in on a FaceTime call. So it's definitely evolved. And as I've gotten better at that, not for this instance, but when I'm creating like my own solo content, I know if I want to get a certain idea across, I can predict that in my head and then speak with a hook like on a dime just to practice and stuff like that. But it's not easy. I'm not going to act like that is just easy to just start talking.
No, Jennifer, I definitely align with what you're saying. I think I had a very similar kind of moment where it's like, I actually really wanted to be on camera. That's why I chose YouTube to be kind of one of my priorities over the podcast at one point.
Mm.
But I found that like I love doing all three different types. That's who I am. For you, it might be different. It's one of those things where even though I eagerly wanted to get on camera, I was deathly afraid of it. I didn't want to, like, I felt so like not deathly afraid, but I was like really, really nervous about it. The stage fright was immense. And like you said, it just clicked. And like even right now, I'm looking at the camera, right? This meta commentary is part of what the show kind of goes on about. And it's like, it feels like a FaceTime call. Like you're right here. So I'll look down at you every once in a while because I want to see you nodding your head, see you, reacting to it, a comment or whatever it kind of be. But I'm looking at you now. And that way it feels more natural, like a FaceTime call or a Zoom call.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it sounds so generic to say, don't overthink it. Like, obviously, when you're panicked, that's like the last thing you want to hear. But don't make it something that it's not.
Mm-hmm. And you definitely talked about being kind of more raw, and I think YouTube's really performing that kind of content a lot better. But even as a podcaster, I started off scripting and I felt myself stifled and not good. But as soon as I switched to what you're saying there, I was able to be a lot more comfortable on camera or just on the microphone if it's just the audio. Do you do how many? Well, hold on, let's back up a little bit. How many episodes have you done at this point with your podcast?
My podcast now, specifically the Lead Gen podcast, I'm late to the game with my own podcast, considering I've been in the industry forever, which is so hypocritical of me to say. That's why I was like, enough, you have to start it. I release episodes every Thursday, and I launched it in October. Mm-hmm. The best thing I did was just tell no one that I'm starting one. Just start it and launch it. And if people ask, oh, you have my own podcast. But I had a podcast back when in 2017, I had my own podcast that I had for a while. And then I stopped that when I officially wanted to be 100% behind the scenes. So I've been in and out of it, like as myself as the podcaster, but I started this podcast back in October.
And we're jumping around a lot here. I didn't even got to the questions yet, but that's kind of why I was curious. I was like, okay, you have your, hosting experience from in real life events. You have your podcast from before, your podcast now. With those two solo podcasts, similar topics, like could you bring those episodes into the fold of this one, or is it two separate things?
I mean, it depends what level you're going at. That other podcast, I used to work in like sports media. And then I used to work for the New Jersey Devils as well. And I still love hockey. I'm a huge hockey fan. So I had a whole podcast on the NHL where every week I would go in, stuff, what's going on in the week, who's getting traded, what players, the playoffs, that type of thing. In this podcast, I teach business owners and personal brands how to generate leads back to their business by leveraging podcasting. So one's like business, one's like
sports,
I guess. So two different things, which is interesting how you kind of like structure things depending who your audience is and how you speak, I guess. Where more so I can like run my mouth on a hockey podcast. On the Lead Gen podcast, I don't want to necessarily like run my mouth. I just want to give you the facts. Do what you want.
No cursing, like.
Oh, I curse. I still curse. People need to know. Yeah.
So I guess I thought when you were saying it earlier, I thought you said you had like a personal cast that was not related to your other sporting kind of stuff background. But disregarding that, then how many episodes do you think you've done total, combining all the casts that you've done?
I see. At personal or like professional?
All of them count towards your experience as a podcaster. So I'm curious.
It has to be in the thousands because. I mean, I've been working in podcasting specifically since like 2017. And then before that, I was in front of the camera. Yeah, it has to be thousands and very different.
Are they short or long for the sports ones?
The sports ones were on the longer side.
Okay, that's even more.
Yeah, because it's more just like can I curse on the show? Or no?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, it's kind of like more like you're bullshitting with friends on camera.
Okay.
Or so like my podcast now is more like, I guess you would call it like educational, tactical. So it's definitely more on the shorter side, unless if I have a guest on or something.
So what made you feel like this was the way to go going forward? I'm just very curious. I'm just curious about like the trajectory, where you've been, where you're going. What made you make this decision to take this like lead generation kind of focus? Yeah.
So when I was in podcasting, I started off my journey working with this digital marketing agency where they have their own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing video at this point. I got them doing video, which is extremely rare at that time. You never saw podcasters doing video at that point. And we talked about having some guests on. Mm-hmm. So at this point, all the entrepreneurs who were ahead of the game, wanted to come on. So I started working with like really large entrepreneurs like Ezra Firestone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Dan Martell, really big names. And this is all like way ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. And so I really got heavy into podcasting as a tool, not as, yes, a hobby, like it's fun and stuff, but really learning how to use it as a tool and how to do certain things to generate and funnel those niche leads, whatever you're using those leads for, whether that's direct business or building a community up or, whatever you got going on. So it really taught me how to use it as a tool. So I do love hobby podcasters, absolutely love it, but I like working with businesses and personal brands because I could see the numbers being directly affected by what I'm doing. That's kind of where I more so lean. So that's kind of how I got into like business lead generation with podcasting.
And Hook Media podcast, your company, stuff like that. You have your blog on there. You have your podcast. You have your YouTube. You have and you were doing hosting before. You've done all three different content types, really, right? Yeah. Written, audio, and video. What is your favorite to make then, Jen? Or Jennifer? Sorry, I don't know if I can call you Jen, but I was like,
either or, it doesn't bother to me. But lead Jen a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. But my favorite is definitely video. Well, number one, because my ADHD needs to see multiple things at once. But I will say I love video because you can repurpose it into those other things so seamlessly. It's not like you have to reverse engineer everything. So, example, let's say you have an audio only podcast. That's fine, but you're just missing out on so many other opportunities to repurpose your content. And like you said, you just talked about my website, Hook Media Productions, and what I do. And I show my own clients and my own subscribers how I take my own podcast every week. I have a full YouTube video. I obviously publish it to all the major podcast platforms. I repurpose that whole episode into a blog post. I repurpose that whole episode into an email campaign. I repurpose that one podcast into all social media clips throughout the whole week. And there's a million other things that you can repurpose it into. So that's why I like video, is because it like does all that for me by default.
I love that. And that's why I love asking that question, because, you're a podcast expert. You're kind of like marketing yourself more towards the podcasting world. So when someone sees you initially, they might think that your more preference is towards the audio kind of world. But as a creator, I was curious, like, what do you enjoy most? And so you enjoy making video more as a person with ADHD and stuff like that. What do you most enjoy consuming?
What do I enjoy most consuming? That's interesting. So it's funny because like when I talk to people, I explain, I'm a podcast producer, and they're first like, what's your favorite podcast? I'm like, to be honest, I listen to people talk all day. So I don't
want to do more.
I do listen like a little bit because I walk my dog a lot. So I do listen to that because after a while you get tired of listening to music. I don't know about anybody. Yeah. But I'll put on like Gary Vaynerchuk and things like that.
I love Gary V.
Self-help stuff, business stuff. But as far as content that I consume, I do consume a lot of, sounds weird, but small business content because I like to listen to what problems they have. And then I try to implement that into like what I do. Because at the end of the day, I work with businesses and personal brands. So I want to know their struggles so that I can do my job better.
Yeah. Like, you're doing market research.
Yeah. Just market research. Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I asking that question too, because it's like, okay, normally it cares about what you're creating, but consuming also is a big part of it. And what you're inputting, like you just said too, like it directs your output. And I have a random question for you, because I love TikTok, or at least I used to love it as much. It's different now. We can get into your opinions on that here in a second, because that's how I think I found you, through TikTok originally, right?
Yeah.
I saw your videos on there, and it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you're putting a lot of effort into it. Did you think about just taking your full length videos and do you post them on there, or do you just post just the simple clips of it, something like that?
Yes, that's so funny. I'm actually starting to implement that for my episode that I just launched on Thursday. So that clip will probably come out like today or tomorrow. I just wasn't doing it at first because I had so much on my plate. I actually hired somebody to post my social media for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just need to get this out. Like, I have so much on my plate. Like, here you go. I'll pay you, post the stuff. So it's funny. I actually just started. I'm going to start doing that because I find it's a big dedication example. If people find you through TikTok, let's say, for them to, like, now you take them off the platform, go to YouTube, or take them off the platform and go to Apple. If you just post the full length, they don't have to go anywhere, you know?
And a lot of your solo stuff are around like 8 minutes or something like that. And so it's perfect.
Yeah, no, they're not like, you know, an hour and a half long or anything usually. I mean, I don't know. We got some episodes coming up. Maybe it's going to go over. But as far as length goes and content, I always say don't try to put yourself in a bubble. As long as you're adding value and entertainment, don't try to fill up random space just to fill time, because that's when you're going to make your audience bored, because you have to value the time your audience gives you, because with content, they're doing it in their passive time. It's not like they have to be like at school and you just have to be there. They're doing it with their free time and their passive time. So you have to make sure it's worth their while. You can't be getting them bored.
And that's why, like, the length of this show, even my other show, but especially this one, is like, it's based on like, okay, is there value being provided, or either the host or the guest being burned out? Because if that shows, like, if one of us is not performing as well, like, hey, the guest is going to pick up on that and not be interested anymore. And so usually I try to go as long as the guest wants to. So if you want to go for an hour and a half, we'll go for an hour and a half. I think my longest interview was 2 hours. And ironically, that was my only interview where I did audio only. And that was weird.
Yeah, I have to check that one out. You have to send it to me out there.
So she's really cool, actually. You might like her as a person. She's millennial marketing woman, and the reason why I was audio only is because she doesn't show her face. And that was on the other show, but it was one of those things where she's a prolific blogger, and it's really interesting content.
That's really cool, and I want to get into that since, you know, I am a podcast producer and I deal with things like this. And some people are scared to start a podcast, you know, and get into the video element because they don't want people to see them. Understandably, it's hard to, please, totally get it, please. And now with like AI and stuff, and this is actually something I want to look into, is like almost creating like an AI avatar so that you don't have to show up, but your like little character can show up. You know,
hey, Jen,
like that's,
or Synesthesia.
Yeah, that's like feasible for people. Like, it's not me directly, it's just like my little character. And I think that's something that we're going to be coming across quite a bit in the near future. Speaking
of, like, you know, video versus not video, doing interviews is something that we both have a lot of experience with. Do you prefer in person or remote? Because I saw some content you made about it recently too.
What do I prefer in the grand scheme of things? Of course, I would love an in-person interview. Of course. Just give me all the time in the world and an endless budget. Like, that would be great. I love excuse to meet
travel and
people. Travel and, you know, check things out and stuff. Of course. Logistics wise, you are getting the bang for your buck and the bang for your time by having a remote interview, and it's a lot more tangible for you to get larger guests on. You know, example, like you know, this is one of my growth strategies. I call it the wow strategy, where others watch, where you have like someone in your similar like audience that you can leverage by having them on the show, and you could slowly get larger guests on your show. But those larger guests are more likely to come on if you're remote, because obviously it's just easier to, you know, log on to something like this and just pop on a show instead of like trekking out to, I don't know what state you're in, but I'm in Jersey, but trekking out to like California for an interview, you know?
I'm in Missouri, so it's a little bit easier for me to kind of go omnidirectional, but I'm still kind of on the more eastern side.
The middle there, compared to me, you're in the middle.
So I completely agree with you, especially when it comes to like snowballing the size of guests. To me, I don't care if you're a small creator or a big creator. If you have something to share, I'll have you on the show. Like I want to make that clear
I like
because I've had people who have less followers than I have, and I'm already relatively small audience size wise. But
that.
as a creator, I feel like I compete with some of the bigger ones. But one thing I wanted to mention that I'm tantalized by this idea, tantalized, whatever. But the idea of like doing in-person interviews at conferences, because sometimes that's the only place you actually interact with some of the big people. And I've gone to podcast movement now for 2 years in a row, and yet I only did like maybe 1 or 2 interviews. And it's like, come on, I should do more.
Come on. Yeah, no, and even like, I see going back to like the business content that I consume quite a bit. Example, like roofing contractors, there's RoofCon every year. Like,
Mhm.
bring your small portable podcast equipment and pull, one of the largest people in the industry for, it could be 5 minutes. It could
Yeah.
like, it's okay. But now you have them on, you have that experience and stuff.
So, given the size of different creators, I mean, I consider myself a big creator, like mentally wise, but personally wise, on my trajectory, I'm small audience. What are your thoughts on that kind of dynamic? You could be big, but you're not actually a big numbers wise.
Right. Yeah. No. And, going back to the guesting thing and the strategy that I just brought up and stuff, that's a growth strategy. But one of the things that I've learned working in the industry, and not that I don't want to use the word sad, it's not sad. It just like, it makes me want to pull my hair out a little bit
Yeah.
because I feel every business and or personal brand should have a podcast, is because you don't have to be an expert to start a podcast, but it sucks because someone is top ranking in your industry right now and seen as the expert. Meanwhile, you're over here and you're 10 times more knowledgeable than them, but you haven't bitten the bullet yet and gotten that content out there. It makes me want to
Yeah.
rip my hair out. So it sounds horrible, and don't take this as like a blanket statement, but you're not an expert unless you say you're the expert in today's world.
Yeah, you have to be able to market it. You have to be able to sell people that, hey, marketing is literally just telling people that you exist or this product exists, that kind of thing. And if you exist as an expert, that's the marketing.
Yeah.
You have to tell them.
Yeah. No, you have to build yourself up. And I'm just talking like podcasting, content, personal branding, anything.
Mhm.
Like, you're not the expert unless you share it, tell them directly, show it, document it. Because if you just don't, no one knows about you in today's world, which is frustrating, but it's just the reality. So I do think it's important that people do put content out there.
So, I mean, that's what you're doing now. You have, so much, many years of experience as a podcaster and producer and host because of your previous work. And now you're doing your own thing. After all these, after over a decade of podcasting, is there anything that stood out to you that's kind of contributed towards your expertise?
Yeah, for sure.
Which one?
Few things, but one thing is I've worked with startup podcasts with barely any budget. I've worked with multi-million-dollar professional studios, and your content won't perform any better or worse than what it already would, depending on your setup. So what I'm trying to get at is, you could film with your old iPhone, but if your message is conveying value and whatever entertainment for your audience, and if you record that same exact thing in a studio that's $3 million built out, it won't perform any better or worse than what it would. What it really comes down to is the content and how you're saying it. That's what's going to make your content convert. And by convert, I mean, I've created videos that have gotten 18 million views, like an insane amount. Did that lead to a high conversion? No. What does is like 3,000 views, but guess what? My website got, 50 new email signups, and 5 people reached out to me about working with me. That's high conversion opposed to that larger, like, viral video.
And it's interesting too, because depending on how much effort you put into it, I mean, I've heard the classic story with TikTok where people will be like, "Hey, I spent 3 hours on this 30-second video, 6-second video, and it didn't get any views."
Yeah.
You spend 30 seconds on a 30-second video, and it goes viral. And it's
Yes, it's so frustrating. But that's why I say, just post it, like you throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. Like, it's trial and error. Never not post something. I mean, of course, unless it's like scandalous.
Don't delete stuff either. I think people seem to forget that. I'm glad you agree, because so many people delete their old stuff or unlisted even, and it's like, no, those are all different doors to your ecosystem of content. Like, keep them open.
Yes. No, I consider that like your catalog. So like,
Yeah.
let's say if you were to release, like, I'm talking like rhetorical here, but like release your own magazine every month, and then one day you
I thought about
this
it. Yeah.
really, really cool cover. And then people are like, oh, let's actually open it. And then you deleted all that stuff. What good is that? So keep your catalog of stuff.
So it's interesting too, because we talked about kind of being more raw and kind of talking off the cuff, because scripting can sometimes sound too robotic, and YouTube goes through these waves. And I think podcasting kind of goes similar, maybe a slower cycle, but it's like either highly produced, highly edited versus the kind of raw, off the cuff, like recording. And you and I seem to be leaning more towards that raw, which is kind of what YouTube's really pushing right now anyway. So that's great. That was not really a question. It's more of like a statement, I guess. Do you have any thoughts on it though?
Yeah. And I feel like editing styles go through waves, like you just said. None of them are right or wrong. And it's just kind of like the algorithms that we have to deal with. Just make sure that it reflects your brand to a certain point. Obvious. I mean, it depends who your audience is, and or if you're selling, and or if you're looking to build up your community. I do think it's good to implement it in little ways, whether that's through, like, let's say you have a very professional podcast and content. Let's say you're a lawyer and you have a podcast. Sometimes it's good to let your guard down, because that implements that trust. And, things like that. People can trust you because they're like, oh, this is a real person. This, this is a mom with 2 kids and a dog. She lives a crazy life just like me, sort of like that. Take your wall down a little bit. Do I think that lawyer should like go vlogging with like her camera and like, wild things are happening? It depends. It really does depend. Do I think it's wrong? No, but I know what you mean by the algorithms as far as like scripted, unscripted, off the cuff, not off the cuff, but it's always changing. I do think it's good to test it out a little bit. You
got to experiment.
Yeah.
And every creator is different, and every cycle is different too. Like if you start out this year, but it's leaning towards editing and you're more raw type, you're not going to do as technically as well, but your content still is what matters. If you do have good content, that's what really matters in the end. And you only get that through reps.
Yeah, no, for sure. And put it out there, even if, going back to like editing and styles and stuff, even if you don't have a style and you literally hit start and end, still publish it. Don't let that hold you back either.
Don't let perfectionism keep you.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
You mentioned Premiere earlier as one of your favorite tools of choice. Besides that, what else do you use for content creation? You could also do technology too. It doesn't have to be just software.
Yeah, so I love Riverside FM. I've used it ever since the wee days of it like coming out. And I do use some AI. I have this one platform, it's called Notta. Nottia or Notta.
I think that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I really like it. You upload your content, it transcribes it. It gives you like a summary, bullet points. The thing with that, I don't take it as literal. I use it as guidance. I use it as a tool. I don't use it as like copy and paste situation. Other software, I'm really annoying. I will only edit episodes and repurpose content in Premiere Pro. I will not use AI for me or my client stuff. I'm really annoying with that. I have just never been proven wrong with it. That's the only reason. But I can recommend, let's say you do have a YouTube channel or you have a podcast or whatever, and you're not at the point yet where you yourself know how to use Premiere, or you don't have the budget for it, or I don't know, whatever reason. There's no such thing as too much content. So I will say, do use these and post it. But I do like Headliner. That's like one of the first AI platforms I ever checked out back in the day, Headliner. Opus Clips is okay, Descript, and then I believe Riverside does come up with some repurposed content too. It's not bad, it's fine. It just, once again, going back to that high conversion, that's my goal, is to put in the maximum. I want the maximum return for my work. So that's what I do, edit everything in Premiere. But if you don't have that accessibility, those platforms are fine. It just won't be as high conversion as if you went in there and like nitpicked every single little detail. I'm trying to think what other, I mean, I use ChatGPT literally for like, I'm probably going to ask it what time I should go for my walk tonight. I use that. I use Homegirl for everything. Like, I'm insane.
I definitely think that like there's a lot of people who, especially if you really enjoy editing like you do, it does make sense that you don't use AI. And I definitely think a lot of people do overuse AI when it comes to like ChatGPT or like Noda or FlowSend or whatever. They just take what the AI generates and that's it. Even with Opus Clip, I go in and I tweak it. Like I make sure the words are something like that. I might add a sentence here and there. I make sure the reframing is good. So I go in and I still tweak it. But it's one of those things where for me, I'm a little bit less picky. I'd rather have 80%, 90% quality rather than full 100% and get, 5 more clips that I can post out. But yeah, it's interesting. There's also like Gling and Firecut and stuff like that you could use with Premiere. Have you looked into those much?
I know there's like plugins and stuff
Autopod
you can use that will like, let's say me and you were together in studio and we had a 3-camera shot. I know you can upload the footage and it will chop it up for you. I'm just mentally ill. I have to like know where everything is, and like I'm like insane. There are platforms that do that, and once again, I would love if people use that. Like, I think it's great. I'm not talking it down at all. It's just not part of my process that I find optimized yet.
That's fair. This is your interview. Like, your opinion is what matters in this call. Like,
yeah, and like I do love that you go into Opus and just like publish it, because my whole point of everything in podcasting specifically is build the plane as you go, and it sounds like that's what you're doing. Like, this is great. It's 90% great. Would I change this? Yeah, but guess what? It's getting posted right now. Like, I love seeing people do that. So that makes me so happy that you do that.
I think one thing that you'll really enjoy is that, like, when did you join TikTok, by the way?
What was that?
You were pretty early. When did you join TikTok? You were pretty early, weren't you?
Yeah, so I have like a traumatizing TikTok story if you're trying to get into.
All right,
you want to buckle your seats, because I knew before this you were like feeling the vibes with the TikTok, and I was like, oh, I got a story for you. So I previously owned a business, a pretty successful business. I applied for Shark Tank and I got onto the final round with it. It was a swimwear company, just long story short, but pretty successful, pretty large. I was very proud of it. And I grew a large personal brand business TikTok where I was the face of the brand, but this TikTok, which is kind of how brands and businesses and like physical products do use TikTok now. They do have a face to the brand a lot of the times now. And I grew that account up to almost 200,000 followers, and they banned me.
Oh, yeah. Is it because of like, technically there's that pseudo nudity because it's swimwear, or is it because of like too much content?
I would get like flagged here and there, and I learned to like work my way around it, where like I wouldn't be wearing the bathing suits, but I would show it like a video of it like on the ground and be like, hey, I'm wearing this one, and like whatever. I had someone come out and copy my idea. It was patented non-slip swimwear. So the idea of it is that it doesn't like fall off of you. It has a silicone. I got it patented, the whole thing. And this company pretty much copied my idea, and people kept tagging me in it. And I think that business pretty much got together with a bunch of people, and everyone kept reporting my account one day. They all sat down, and did that. Because I came out and I said, hey, like, I have a patent for this, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think they liked that. And I think they got together with their friends or whatever and pretty much just bombed my account with flags, which I went back so many times and was like, this company, I'm pretty sure they reported me, blah, blah, blah. And too bad.
And TikTok just wouldn't help you at all?
No, they're pretty much just like, sending me generic stuff. I was crazy. I reached out to people on LinkedIn that worked at TikTok. Like,
no, that's what you should do. Yeah.
I literally was insane with this, but thank God I've worked with entrepreneurs previously, and I kind of got the logistics on how to generate leads and what to do with those leads. So for anyone out there that has like a personal page or whatever, bring those leads to something permanent. And by permanent, I mean your email list. So
yeah, your website. Emails.
Yeah, if you don't have a structured out email list and you're capturing emails, please do that, because I was doing that before, thank God, and I had a solid email list. It sucks though, because when you do build up an account, it gives you like that notability. People trust you more, like, okay, this is like legit. This is not like something that has like 5 followers and like sketchy. Yeah, that sucked.
Did you close down the business or sell it?
So yeah, I'm actually in the middle of selling the patent. Yeah, so I'm working on that now, and I was still doing podcasting at that point too, as well. On top of that, it was more like a passion business, which I really enjoyed. I mean, obviously, like, I grew it up so large, almost got on Shark Tank, the whole thing. But yeah, that was a big, big lesson learned, is always put your leads somewhere.
Did you have copies of the content at least too?
I had quite a bit. Yeah, I had quite a bit. So once again, going back to like repurposing, like, I was going across all platforms from the start. Good. So that's something, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And,
that was one of the first posts I made on this channel. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, seriously. And obviously work on the platform that works best for you. Example, for a lot of people, that's TikTok, but maybe it's Facebook, depending on your demographics and stuff. But always be posting on all the other platforms. Do like an 80-20 rule, or, that sort of thing. But,
with automation now, you don't even have to split it, really.
I know. I don't know why people just post on one platform. But anyway.
Preaches to the choir.
But yeah, definitely going back to what you said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Generate your leads to somewhere permanent. Even if you are just like a personal brand right now and you're not selling anything and you're just you, maybe next year you're going to want to launch a course, or you're going to want to, do a downloadable PDF, or you're going to want to do something, put those people somewhere. So when you're ready, that audience always trusts you. They know you, you've built it up, and they're ready to convert.
A couple of points I wanted to just share for the audience listening in. Building an email list, like she's saying, is very, very important. You could obviously use Substack if you have a newsletter or something like that, or use Ghost like I do or something like that. Yeah. But you could even use SendFox, which you can get a lifetime deal for like $50. And I'm not sponsored by them, but it's just one of those things. If you need to do broadcasting, that's probably the cheapest option, just to get your foot in the door and start building out that email list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even better than ConvertKit, I think, in some ways. So
yeah, no, all that is fantastic. I love all that. Just generating it somewhere more permanent and not 100% on TikTok, and it will get deleted.
You're not the first person who's told me that horror story too. Also, just to tell you, Jen, I taught swimming for over a decade, and so I definitely understand the importance of good swimwear.
Oh, that's so funny. Were you like you see on the Olympics, like you taught that type of swimming?
I feel like I could teach an Olympian swimmer. I've said that before, and I've even made blog posts about it, that kind of thing. But I've taught mainly just like kids to adults. My youngest was, in the months, like 6 months, 8 months, something like that, all the way up to like 74 years old.
Oh, kind of okay. So you're like the babies that you see on TikTok where the moms.
I did not do that. It was just more like a parent and child type class, but I've seen those. Those are crazy.
It's so bizarre. Like, I get it, but like, Jesus Christ.
Just wait till they're 3. Come on now. Yeah. But I think that's really interesting. If you can get your kids through some kind of class like that and you can afford it, that's definitely good. But just wait till like 4 or 5 and they'll be good too.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, okay, I'm glad that you understand like swimwear malfunctions and making sure that you're also.
Oh, I got a story for you.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God.
Just a quick little tangent before we get to the questions here again. Because I taught water aerobics as well. And there was one day we're doing these different exercises. We're doing these like frog jumps. And I'm on the concrete, right? They're in the pool. They're watching me. We're doing the frog jumps. So my knees are coming up to my chest. I'm jumping. On the third jump, I hear... And so I just had a giant hole on this like cheek here. And then like 2 months later, I'm teaching swim lessons and I'm outside the pool because like, this is a higher level kid. I needed to watch him go back and forth. I'm out in the pool and I crouch down to him and I crouch. And this is all the parents are around too because it's public swim lessons this particular day. I crouch down and I hear, and so like 2 different swimsuits in the same year tore me while I'm teaching. I immediately grabbed my butt. People thought I, did not hold it in, I guess, but like no, it's just like I need a towel to cover up, guys. So I definitely got better quality swimwear.
My gosh, yes, my stuff was always high top quality for sure. None of that was happening. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That's really funny.
It's funny.
I can't.
So speaking of different stories, can you share your favorite story that's happened to you as a content creator?
Yes. So I kind of have like 2 like starstruck moments, I will say. One of them was when I used to work in front end media for the New Jersey Devils. In college, that was kind of like my dream job. And one of my assignments was to write to someone that you want to be in your industry. And then I forget what the project was, but you had to ask them questions and whatever. So did that and give it like 6-7 years later. I was working and guess who sits next to me? That person. And I was like, I was like, do you like remember me? I know it's a long time ago, but and she like remembered me and everything. And we took a picture together. I sent it to my mom. Like, yeah, that was one moment where I was like, it's like one of those things that you're like, oh, like we're here, like here we are, like.
Have you ever been to a podcast movement or other podcasting conferences?
No, and I really should.
You should.
I really, really should. I just haven't taken this step yet, but I really do need it.
Because you could even speak at one of them too and get a free ticket that way. So you'd have a lot to offer. So.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I definitely need to look into it. It just, I don't know. I just never like took the leap.
The reason why I asked, ironically, as much as I have a love-hate relationship with Riverside, a couple years ago they had a contest on Twitter, like, hey, if you reply to this, you get a free ticket to the conference. Oh. And I was the only one who replied. and so I got the ticket, and it was one of those things where that was my first foray. The reason why I brought it up, because obviously I think you would like it, but I got on the last day there, I'm like exhausted, I'm tired, I'm like not even feeling that well either that day. And I'm on my way out of the resort. I'm like on my way to leave. And I see someone at the corner of my eye, and it's Shannon Hernandez, who's a YouTuber about podcasting and someone who I learned from when I started out. And like I recognized, I was like, oh my God, it's you. And then even earlier on in that conference, I'm walking down one of the hallways towards the Spotify room. And I see Trace Dominguez, who is SciShow and a YouTuber for different like education channels. And I'm like, I know you. Like he was busy. I couldn't talk to him, but Shannon was really cool. I got to talk to Shannon for a minute. And it's just funny how like when you go to these places, you see other people who you've looked up to or interacted with or seen some online. And as NAB is the broadcasting conference, I went to that this year and last year, and I saw other creators like Zach Justice, who's a big podcaster on TikTok. And it's just crazy, these conferences, you get to see those people. And I think you would have a field day.
Yeah. So it's funny because that's kind of the reason I got out of front end media was it's just so much travel and like getting ready for it. That's why I pretty much went behind the scenes, and I'm an extrovert, but physically the only thing that gets me out of the house is when I walk my dog once a day. But I really do need to do stuff like that because I could just talk all day. Like if you want to know something, I'll literally tell you. I'm such an extrovert, so I really do need to take the time and do it. Maybe we can definitely plan something out and meet up and stuff like that. I would definitely love that. I was going to bring up a point and now it's totally going over my...
The other story. You had another story.
I did have another story. So I love Gary Vaynerchuk. He's from Jersey. I'm from Jersey. I love him. I used to work for the Jets. He loves the Jets. I don't really care for football, but like whatever.
It's a connection now.
I don't care for them, but yeah. No, I love him. And I was working. And once again, I work with a ton of entrepreneurs, like high level entrepreneurs. And I love Gary. Like I literally just love him. And we're getting ready for the next guest and stuff. It's Gary. It's literally Gary. I called like 3 people. I was like, how are they allowing me to handle this content? Like, who allowed this?
Yeah.
Like, who passed this in the budget? Like, are we sure? So yeah, like I've got to work with him with quite a bit of content and stuff. So that was definitely a moment where I was like, oh my gosh.
If you have any links, let me know and I'll put it in the description too.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely send you the content. I'll send you the link. But yeah, that was another moment that I was a little, I guess you could say, starstruck. Or
Oh my gosh, no, I can definitely understand. Like Gary is one of those creators that actually motivated me for part of this channel. So this is like my 3rd or 4th channel at this point, but it's one of the ones I put some of the most effort into because I love content as a niche. And Gary kept talking. You probably saw this so many times too. He kept saying, screaming on top of his lungs, "You should be posting 100 pieces of content a day."
mm-hmm.
And everyone who heard that was like, "No, I can't do that." And like, blah, 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 blah. And I think you resonate with this. Like, I heard it and I thought, how do I do that? Like the flip of the script kind of thing
Yeah,
there.
reverse engineer it, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to figure it out. And eventually he put out his slide deck, but it was still kind of too in the clouds, not too much in the dirt telling you how to do it. And so that's why I made this channel, is to kind of talk about that strategy and how to do that. And have you ever experienced burnout really bad?
I used to, not anymore, because I have implemented so many strategies for that to not
Good.
happen.
Yeah. I asked because Gary Vee got me out of my burnout at one point. And at the tail end of 2017,
Wow.
I started podcasting, had been blogging for a while. I hit burnout pretty hard. I'll spare you the details, but essentially at the end of the year, I stopped creating content. I stopped working out. I stopped playing video games, even, which I enjoy. Could not do anything. Was very, very much in a rut. And then in January of 2018, I was trying to find a single habit to get back into the groove of things, and it was reading. And I read through his books in a matter of like 5 books in a matter of a month, and that's what helped get me back on track.
Oh, I love that story. That's so nice. And like, for if he ever like heard that, I think that would bring him so much joy, like hearing that he like directly affected you to like get you out of that. No, he really got me on the thing of not caring, and I don't mean that in a bad term. I do feel like people do care so much what others think and stuff. And I personally, and it's not easy. I'm not like going on here on like a fucking soapbox, like saying this, but like when you, and that goes both ways, not caring, for the positive and negative. I don't mean this in like, not caring in such a bad way. Like, as far as like positive reinforcement or people saying negative things, like stay on your path regardless of what people are saying. And me personally, I always say, I hear your opinion and it's validated, but I'm going to do what I want, because people always say stuff, and so it comes from a place of caring sometimes and stuff. But like making content and stuff can be hard, and the whole way to like not burn out too is like the whole document, don't create thing, which I'm sure you know.
And like we talked about earlier, doing it raw too, so you don't overburn yourself out with editing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just start.
If you don't enjoy editing,
post it. Example, like we were talking before this, it's just been like a whirlwind of a week, and I have an episode coming out Thursday. Haven't recorded it, haven't edited it, but this week I might not edit it as highly, and it might not perform as well as my other content, but that's okay. I'm going to post something, just get it out there. Don't overthink it. Any content's better than no content.
And technically you are recording content right now too. So you are doing stuff. Like you are producing, you are creating, like you're doing something.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You always have to find your ways. And not even that, like I'm going to get inspiration from our conversation for ideas or certain things, or, things like that.
I'm really excited for you with the whole longer form on TikTok. As at one point, one of the interviews I posted from my other channel, I posted the full length. I had access to the 60-minute feature on TikTok, and it disappears within a week. So I was trying to take advantage of it when I got it back again for like the 2nd or 3rd time. And while it didn't perform super well, like a 60-minute video, the fact that you could do it, I was just very curious about. And it's just one of those things where like, yeah, longer form. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, and no, for sure. And if someone, even if 2 people listen to that long form thing, that's great. And not even that, just going back to creating content and stuff and consuming content, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people who scroll on TikTok all day. I'm so bad.
Yeah, I've been really bad
It's
about it
so
too.
addicting. But I will say, I will catch myself and I'm like, why did I just watch that? And I will go back up and watch how the clip is structured, or like, was there a hook, or was there like something so niche to me that's going through my life right now? Like, I don't know. I had a nail appointment on Thursday and they came out with a new nail polish. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, relevance, like, it makes you stop and listen. So I check my own habits of why I'm consuming content, and then I try to reflect that back into my content that I create too.
I think that that's a great way of going about it. One of my guests earlier on this series or this podcast was Ryan McGinn, and he talks about, he's like some of the people behind what is it? Jordan, what's his name? Jordan Peterson, Alex Hormozy, I think as well. Big part in that, and a lot of other big creators. He was the driving force, his agency for their short form content strategy. And so I really wanted to talk to him, had him on the show, and he talked about that. Like, he's like, when he's scrolling through and he stops and watch something, like what made him stop and do it, and he looks back and it's like, oh, this is a viral video, and like that's how he kind of trained his algorithm to start showing him more viral content, which is fascinating to me. So I'll send you that interview too after this, because I think you'll really like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely send that over. I would really like that.
A couple more questions before we wrap up here. What does content repurposing mean to you?
It means saving time.
Okay.
And having to get less creative, and saving money. Everyone loves to save money, right? Especially if you own a business. So, like I talked about before, just from one long form video podcast, I am able to repurpose it in so many different ways, where opposed to if I didn't, I would have to individually do those things each time and get creative all those different times. So going back to, the whiteboard, I have my long form video podcast and I upload that to YouTube. And then I have the audio, so out on all the major platforms. Then I repurpose it into a blog post for my website. Then I repurpose it into an email campaign. I have a downloadable PDF on my website, which has been repurposed from a podcast. I could come out with a course very easily. I could make graphics for social media. There are so many different things where before that strategy, I would have to individually have to go back to the whiteboard every single time. You want an email campaign? Okay, start from scratch. You want social media? Okay, start from scratch for each little post. Okay, you want a blog post? Okay, start from scratch. Come up with an idea and write it and blah, blah, blah. Like, just from one long form podcast, I save myself time. I save myself money. I save myself driving myself crazy. So repurposing content is such a huge part of what I do, how I generate leads, personally and business wise, and it just makes my life so much easier.
And that's why I asked that question, because the way you answered it, Jennifer, is really great. I just think it's so much like a lot of people try to create Instagram and then Facebook, and like they try to keep it all separate, when a simple post that could be repurposed in a lot of different ways can make it so much easier.
And of course, it's always fun to do that, one social media post off the cuff. Always post those for sure, like, that different type of content. But
that's like something you like, oh, I want to write something on LinkedIn one day. Like that's completely different. That's its own thing, right?
No, for sure. So I love repurposing content. It's just fantastic. Everyone should do it. And it just makes my life seamless.
So you got a lot going on now. What do you have coming down the line that you're looking most forward to that's like positive?
Yeah. So recently I lost against Elmo for the Webby Awards. So that's I put my one client in there. They don't have a large budget, but I really believe in their podcast. So we've been really like pushing their content and stuff. So we submitted them for, I believe, the category crime and justice, and I forget what the other category was. But so we lost at that, but that's okay. That's all right. So I ripped to us. Another thing is that I have one of my clients who's in a very niche category. She's in like the GLP-1 categories, which is great for me because that's a trending topic. Love that. So I've gotten her some really, really big sponsors. I know that's one of the things we could go down a 2-hour conversation is monetizing content and things like that.
Maybe I'll have to have you back on for it.
Oh my gosh, get ready. It's a whole nother world over there. I got her 2 really big sponsors, so that's great. And we're working on other big sponsorships. And me personally, I've been, working with small brands, and I like to show it in real time how to do it. Like, here I am, I have my podcast, here's how I'm doing it. And not even that, just like meeting new people in the industry. And like you said, I'm over who's the biggest, who's the smallest. Like, do you have something awesome to say? Cool. I'm kind of over, not that I'm over it. Like, there's always lessons to be learned and stuff, but like, been there, done it, and I've gotten my lessons for sure. And I'm open to hearing like new and upcoming things for sure.
I love that. And so if people wanted to find the things you're doing, Jen, where could they find you online?
Yeah, for sure. You could look me up at the Lead Gen podcast. And or my website, hookmediaproductions.com.
And I got links down below for you. And so once again, this is Dustin, PolyInnovator, and Jennifer Blake on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you so much.